Brighton, pop quiz. Who's the best centre-back in your game, in your save right now? If you answered the guy with 17 tackling and 5 stars from a chief scout, you're playing the game wrong, you're playing with emotion, and you're playing with a bias. And most importantly, you're wasting your transfer budget. We've all seen the movie Moneyball. We know the story of open A's, or in football terms, the story of Brighton and Brentford. Teams that outsmart the market because they ignore the noise and look at the signal. Yet, when we play Football Manager, we revert to the Stone Age. We look for the green attributes, we look for star ratings, we buy the players that our scouts tell us that are good. Today, we are firing your scouting department. Well, not literally, but we're going to stop listening to their opinions. We're going to start looking at the cold, hard truth of data. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to build a championship-winning squad using spreadsheets, filters, and the per 90 metric. This is how to recruit using early data in FM26. Part 1. The problem with attributes. Before we open the data hub, we need to deconstruct where you currently buy players. You buy them based on attributes. You see a winger with 16 dribbling and 17 pace, and you think, he will be a superstar. But attributes are just potential energy. They represent what a player can do, not what he does do. A player can have 17 positioning, but he is lazy, low work rate, or stupid, low decisions. You will be out of position. A striker can have 8 in finishing, but if he never shoots, he never scores. When we buy based on data, we are flipping the script. We aren't buying potential energy, we are buying kinetic energy. We are buying output. If I offered you a striker with 10 finishing, he scored 25 goals last season, or a striker with 18 finishing, he scored 5, who would you take? The scout takes the 18. The data analyst takes the 25 goals. Today, we're becoming the analyst. Part 2, set another lab. To do this, we need to fix your UI. The default Football Manager search screen is designed to hide the truth from you. It shows the value, age, and position. They are very useless. We need to create a per 90 view. Why per 90? Because we're looking at raw stats. Because looking at raw stats is a trap. If player A has 100 interceptions in 40 games and player B has 80 interceptions in 20 games, player B is vastly superior. If you just look at the total, you buy player A. If you go to your player search screen and click right in the header, create a custom view, you're going to add these columns: goals per 90, assists per 90, key passes per 90, progressive passes per 90, interceptions per 90, headers 1 ratio. This is your dashboard. This is your stock market. Once you have this view, the game changes. Stop looking at names, stop looking at faces. You start looking at the green bars in the data column. And part 3. Recruitment by position, the defence. Let's start at the back. How do we identify an undervalued centre-back? The old school manager looks at tackling. Paolo Maldini once said, if I have to make a tackle, I already made a mistake. My tackle numbers often mean a defender is completely out of position and scrambling to recover. So what are we filtering for? Number 1, headers 1 percentage. This is non-negotiable. If you're playing in a physical league, you need a ratio above 75%. I don't care if it's 5'9" or 6'7", if he wins 60% of his aerial duels, he is elite. Number 2, interception per 90. Interceptions show reading the game. A high interception stat correlates with high anticipation and positioning. When the guy cuts out the ball, cuts out the pass before the striker receives it. So go to your player search, filter position, centre-back, filter for contract expiring to get them cheap, and then sort by interceptions by 90. You'll find players with 2.5 star rating who are statistically the best defenders in the league. Buy them. Part 4, the engine room, the midfield. Midfielders are the hardest to scout because they do so many different things. If you're looking for a creative midfielder, forget passing out vision. Look for progressive passes per 90. A progressive pass is a pass that moves the ball significantly closer to the opposition's goal. Midfielder with 95% pass completion who only passes sideways is useless to us. Want to go with 80% completion but high progressive passes. He's a risk taker, he's a lot picker. If you're looking for a defensive midfielder, look for possession 1 per 90. This combines tackles and interceptions. This tells you how often this player gets the ball back for his team. And here's the Moneyball secret. Look for fouls made. A destroyer who doesn't commit fouls isn't trying hard enough. A high foul count often indicates high aggression and bravery. The soldier traits we talked about in the last video. Part 5, the sharpshooters, attackers. Now the expensive ones, strikers. This is when the biggest market inefficiencies are. You pay 50 million for a striker who scores 20 goals. You pay 5 million for a striker who scores 5. What if the guy who scored 5 was just unlucky? We need to look at his XG versus actual goals. If a player has an XG of only 15 but has scored 8 goals, the market thinks it's bad. His value drops, but XG is a measure of getting in the right position. Getting in position is a skill. Finishing it is often just variance/luck. By the guy who's underperforming in his XG, you're buying the stock at the bottom of the dip. Mathematically, he'll regress to the mean. He'll start scoring, and you got him for pennies. Conversely, avoid the player who scores 20 goals from a player from an XG of 10. He is just running hot. He is overpriced. If you buy him, you'll stop scoring, and then you'll wonder why. Number 6, context is king. Now, a warning, data without context is dangerous. You have to look at the team that they are playing for. If a defender has 10 interceptions per game, but he plays for the worst team in the league, that stat is inflated because his team is always defending. He has more opportunities to intercept. If a striker scores 20 goals in the second division, will that translate to the Premier League? This is where you use the eye test. Once the data gives you a short list of 5 players, then you scout them. You aren't scouting them to see if they're good. The data provided they are good. You're scouting to check for red flags. Does he have an injury-prone trait? Does he have inconsistent reports? Does he have the dreaded personality? The data tells you what happened. The scout tells you who did it. You need both. The data comes first. And then the conclusion, not sure why that's so hard to say. Trust in the process. It is scary to spend your transfer budget on a player with 11 pace and 12 finishing just because his spreadsheet numbers are green. If fans all hate it, the media will give you a transfer D grade, but then the season starts. And that 11 pace winger keeps getting assists because his key passes for 90 was a lead. And that ugly centre back keeps getting clean sheets because his header 1 percentage is 85%. You're building a machine, not a gallery of superstars. Star ratings are opinions, attributes of potential, but data is fact. So if your next transfer window will challenge you, turn off the attribute masking, ignore stars, build your custom view, and buy their numbers. My name is Finn Simmons. Be hunting.